People say, what can I do about climate change? If we were talking about it, associating it with big storms like this, that would be really good. But the main thing is vote.
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Bill Nye the Science Guy, also known as Bill Nye the Mechanical Engineer Guy, because that's what he is, but that's a different story, and I digress. You may or may not know who he is. If you're my age or right around that, you know exactly who he is. You saw him on, what was that, Saturday morning, right around cartoon time, doing little science experiments. It was cool to us as kids, but now that Bill Nye has aged with us, he's become one of these far left people that just say all kind of random things that don't make any sense, things that aren't scientific. Climate change, which at one point was called global warming, then it was global cooling. Back in the early 90s, the patron saint of climate change, Al Gore, said that the ozone layer is going to be depleted in 2 years. People like AOC now, 2024, talking about, hey, we got 12 years left. Actually, that was a few years ago when she said that. I've not heard that we got 12 years left on Earth unless we just pass a law to somehow impact climate change. But I'm going way too deep, way too early. Before I go any further, let's get into the actual clip here. This is Bill Nye, the Mechanical Engineer Guy, on television talking about, hey, you know what the best way to fight climate change is? By going out there and voting in November for Kamala Harris. I mean, it's crazy, but not anything surprising from Bill Nye. And of course, if you want to see this info without my commentary, link as always will be in the description. If you're on IG, visit a link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
The other side, as we often call it, has no plans to address climate change, no plans for long-term dealing with these sorts of problems.
What are you actually going to do? Because we're talking about trying to pass laws, legislation to prevent hurricanes from happening. Look, I'm born in West Virginia, Appalachia, raised in Virginia Beach, Norfolk, right on the coast, right on the East Coast. Every year throughout my entire childhood, there was threat of a hurricane. Sometimes we evacuated and went back to West Virginia, back in the mountains. Okay, that's what we did sometimes. Hurricane Igor, Isabel, all these hurricanes that hit. Andrew hit Florida back in the early 90s. This is not a new thing at all. So you think that voting for this person is going to make the hurricanes go away? I think not.
If you have young voters out there, encourage them to vote. People say, what can I do about climate change? If we were talking about it, associating it with big storms like this, that would be really good. But the main thing is vote. Thank you.
And Bill, very quickly, how much of an impact do you see climate change playing in all of these explanations that you've given us? How much do you see climate change as being a part of that?
Oh, it's no question, everybody. Look, in climate science, everybody has been studying this for years. Everybody has been commenting.
Everybody, what you mean everybody? Those who benefit from the climate change industrial complex, like Al Gore, like Greta Thunberg, like you, like other people who benefit from it, like the manufacturers of solar panels and things like this. I mean, who's talking about it and ultimately who benefits from it? How often do you fly private, commercial, whatever, Bill Nye? What kind of house do you live in? What's your home's carbon footprint? I'm getting triggered, so I digress.
Scientific papers have been written about how warm the ocean is around the Florida Peninsula. And it's this warm water that is driving these storms and enabling it to have to intensify so quickly. Everybody, be careful out there. Let's get through this.
Bill Nye, I thank you so very much, my friend. Really appreciate your time. That wraps up the hour for me.
All right, so Jose Diaz-Balart and Bill Nye talking about, hey, man, you got to go out there and vote the right way. Vote the way that they want you to, and then you won't see as many hurricanes. Does that make any sense at all? I mean, seriously. So what can you do? All right, you go out there and vote in November, right? You want to vote for Kamala, you want to vote for Trump, should vote Trump, obviously. But whoever you want to vote for, okay, cool. You get a ballot, Is it going to be a little check mark on there that says, hey, do you want to eliminate hurricanes? Do you want to lessen the severity of hurricanes? Okay, check right here. So if you check right there, what are they going to do to be able to actually make that whole thing happen? What I hear right now is no more than a campaign promise, a promise that can't be fulfilled, just like the whole student loan kerfuffle. They were never going to fulfill that. It was just a carrot dangling in front of you. Oops, sorry. Well, it's the Republicans' fault because they didn't want to do it. They knew from the beginning they couldn't do it. Supreme Court, they knew they couldn't do it, but it was a campaign promise. And when the promise didn't get fulfilled, they had another person to point at, another group of people to point at. They had that excuse already in the bag. So if you vote for Kamala with the hopes that she's going to stop hurricanes from happening or lessen the severity of said hurricanes, then when it doesn't happen, what's going to be, oh, well, the Republicans, they blocked legislation that could have reduced hurricane severity by 30%. What? Listen, as I close, I want to say this. Ain't no amount of voting going to get you out of hurricanes from happening. Okay, weather is weather. It is what it is. Look, hurricanes, tornadoes, drought, flooding, whatever it is, that's just life. You got wildfires in California. You got all kind of stuff going on. Okay, now the California wildfire, that might be something different because now you get PG&E, the power companies involved, making mistakes. But ultimately, a hurricane forming in the Gulf of Mexico and hitting Florida, I mean, come on. This is just what happens in this part of the country. Same thing. It's like you're going to vote for a person that's going to stop the snow from falling in New York. Is that going to happen? Hey, if you vote Kamala Harris, I'll promise there won't be any more snow. You can sell your snow plow. You're going to be totally fine up in a place where it always snows. It always has snow and it's always going to snow. Come on, let's use a little bit of common sense here. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your take on Bill Nye, the mechanical engineer guy who calls himself Bill Nye, the science guy? You think that he's correct about, hey, you know what? You got to go out there and vote because when you vote the right way or the way that I think, then climate change won't be a thing anymore. It'll be lessened. So therefore, these big hurricanes won't happen. Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. This is a ridiculous thing to say. It's ridiculous. It's not going to happen. It is an empty campaign promise. Okay. Climate change. And they keep, like I said before, they keep changing it. First, it was global cooling. They said it's too cold. It's too much snow. It's global cooling. What are we going to do? Then it became global warming. Hey, it's too hot rather than too cold. What are we going to do? Then it was little pet issues, acid rain, ozone layer, things like that. Now it's just climate change. So any kind of adverse weather event, any kind of tornado, flood, hurricane, fire, a dust storm, it's too hot in Arizona in the desert where it's always going to be hot because it's a desert and there's no moisture and no water. Anything like that, they'll say climate change is the problem. And you know who people, you know who's causing the problem? The Republicans, the other side. So, hey, go out there and vote for November against the guys who are making weather be unpleasant wherever you live. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. But hey, politicians, mainstream media, it's not surprising to me that they would say things like that on television. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.